face lit this town like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up now. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up now.
Welcome back, folks. It's Chris live in Central Pennsylvania for an update on news from across the U.S. tonight. Just a moment here. I got to check on something, make sure this came out all right. There we go. I just need to send somebody something very quickly here, and then we'll be good to go. So apologies for that. Why is that not there? Should be under downloads. Okay, gallery here. There we go. Recent. There we go. Done. Send. All right, cool beans. All right, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It is nearly midnight here on the East Coast of the United States, and YouTube is playing mean over here. Got it working again. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Lots of news tonight out of Nevada, where Donald Trump has won an overwhelming victory. Virtually every delegate going to go his way, every vote in the Nevada caucus going for Donald Trump. Of course, Nikki Haley not part of that caucus. She did participate the other day in a primary in the state. And that was one in which she got 1/3 of the vote, and over 60% of those chose none of these candidates, showing a clear repudiation of Nikki Haley's candidacy for the Republican nomination. Tonight, Donald Trump wins massively. Additionally, other big breaking developments throughout the day. The Supreme Court heard the hearings in the Colorado fantasy case of trying to deny Donald John Trump an appearance on the ballot. And based on the arguments and questions that were made in response to the arguments, it appears, according to the New York Times and other media sources, that the justices were not even remotely convinced of Colorado's asinine decision to bar Donald Trump from the ballot. Yeah. So, given that the case, there are predictions by many that this will be a 9-0 decision by the Supreme Court. I don't know if that's going to be true, but it certainly seems to be a likelihood based on the comments. We're going to get to that story, and I'll show you some of those news stories in just a few moments. So we have Trump winning decisively in Nevada in the Republican caucus. We have Trump likely to win decisively in this asinine case of a rogue, out-of-control Colorado Supreme Court. And that will be a major victory to clarify, in fact, what the 14th Amendment actually says quite clearly in the lettering of it. He's not an officer of the government. He's an elected official. And beyond that, this was a statute put in place in an amendment to the Constitution intended to punish Confederates who broke away from the United States. And only Congress has the authority to do so, not individual states, which can create chaos. The clowns that masquerade as justices in Colorado and the Secretary of State in Maine, who masquerades as a public official, are just total demon rats, to say the least. So Trump will likely win overwhelmingly in that Supreme Court case. It appears to be. And then he won overwhelmingly tonight in Nevada. On top of that, the whitewash, fraudulent, bogus investigation, the scam investigation by Mr. Hur, the special counsel, who is not all that special, has determined that Joe Biden is guilty of felony theft of classified documents, but that they're not going to prosecute him. His argument is beyond weak, and he spends several pages puffing up Joe Biden as a great American, as a person who planned on running for president as early as 1980. And that's the whole argument he makes to defend Joe Biden. His job as special counsel is to investigate the criminal actions, felony actions of Joseph Robinette Biden, which are clearly, based on his statements, is evidence of fact. They are actually felony convictions. Had this happened to a service member in the U.S. military, they would be behind bars at Leavenworth right now. Make no mistake, there is a dual system of justice for corrupt officials like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton, and another system of justice for patriotic Americans and for Donald Trump. Yeah, no doubt about it, folks. That is what is going on here. Let's go ahead and get you guys to the stories that we're talking about here. And Biden is not happy about what was said about him. But Trump glides to victory here, folks. He glides to victory in Nevada, and that is the story at this hour. The Epic Times, Trump's win comes hours after the Supreme Court heard arguments on an effort to remove him from the ballot in neighboring Colorado. Why is that not loaded? This is really getting old. This website does this all the time. So, former President Donald Trump, as expected, cruised to victory in the Nevada GOP caucus today, putting one step closer to winning his party's nomination. The Associated Press called the race at 11:05 Eastern Standard Time, which would be 9:05 Nevada time. The former president faced no significant opposition in the contest. His sole remaining challenger, Nikki Haley, opted to instead compete in the primary 2 days earlier, and she got thumped, but there were no delegates from that. She suffered an embarrassing setback when voters overwhelmingly chose none of these candidates over her in the February 6th contest. President Trump is now poised to sweep all of the state's 26 delegates. He's also entitled to at least 4 delegates in the U.S. Virgin Islands, held the same day as Nevada. In the Virgin Islands, he won 74% of the votes, and Ms. Haley scored 26 in the Virgin Islands. Thursday's Nevada caucus, the only other valid candidate was Ryan Binkley, a Texas businessman whose presidential run is barely registered. He earned less than 1% of the votes in last month's nominating contest in both Iowa and New Hampshire. In 2 prior contests, the AP rapidly called the race for President Trump. Nevada's unusual primary and caucus situation occurred because the state GOP refused to recognize the state's new presidential preference primary. There you go. So Trump spoke to caucus goers to commit a caucus to commit rally in Reno. 62,000 ballots were printed for his county alone, which is where Wasco County is, where more than 103,000 registered Republicans, about 6,000 more than registered Democrats. We had lines that went outside the school, around the block at several locations. But as the race heads to South Carolina, Nikki Haley appears to be outgunned. Among 15 major endorsers in the Palmetto State, only Republican Ralph Norman sided with her, according to 538, a politics focus. Donald Trump cruises to victory in Nevada. This comes as no surprise for Trump watchers. And once again, here's NBC News report on it. Trump wins the Nevada Republican caucuses, continuing his march to the nomination. NBC News projects Trump won his 4th nominating contest after facing minimal opposition, with Nikki Haley skipping the caucuses after getting thumped in the primaries. Yep. He gets all 26 of Nevada's delegates to add to the ones he got in Iowa and the ones he got in New Hampshire. So at this hour, not many votes are actually in from the caucus. We've got just 792 ballots having been recorded. Donald Trump getting 96.8% of those, and Ryan Binkley getting just 26. That's just 2% of the vote. An estimated 35,000 votes remain out there. And here you can see where voting has been reported in the western part of the state and in the Vegas, around Las Vegas. So, in the primary, which was held a couple days ago, Nikki Haley got 22,000 votes, and none of these candidates got 47,000 votes. Mike Pence got 3,000 votes. He's not even on the ballot. Mike Pence. So, none of the candidates won the entire state in the race that Nikki Haley was in. Well, the Colorado scam to keep Donald Trump off the ballot, an unconstitutional illegal action by the Supreme Court of Colorado and demonic leftists from the Democratic Party, is running into a bit of a road bump today as the Supreme Court expressed great skepticism, none other than the Washington Post and the New York Times accurately reporting what's going on here. Supreme Court justices appear skeptical of arguments to kick Trump off state ballots. The court heard arguments about whether the former president's attempts to subvert the election disqualify him. Justices across the ideological spectrum questioned several aspects of a ruling from the Supreme Court. Wow. So Jenna Griswold, another attention-seeking, holy political candidate, is trying to seek attention. But back to the case of Joe Biden's felony theft of classified documents. Angry Joe Biden attacks the special counsel who let him go without any criminal prosecution. He is not subject to immunity because his actions occurred before his place in office. How the hell dare he? A rant. President Joe Biden angrily attacked Special Counsel Robert Hur during a press conference on Thursday for mentioning in a recent report that the president had trouble remembering when his son Beau died. Well, he has trouble remembering what he had for breakfast. Yep. As Breitbart News reported, Robert Hur said in his report the president has suffered from cognitive decline, which has affected his memory. Hur even used this as the basis to recommend that he not be prosecuted for willfully retaining classified documents. The problem is that he willfully did it when he wasn't demented. Now he's demented, you're going to let him off the hook? For Hur to conclude that special detail about his inability to remember when Beau died in his report, the president lashed out during a press conference saying, "How the hell dare he?" There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I asked this question, I thought to myself, wasn't any of their damn business. The president reminded reporters that he wears a rosary on his wrist that Beau gave him from a church that he seemed to have trouble remembering. Though it could be possible that the president had been so overcome with emotion when speaking to DC. Oh, stop. I don't need anyone to remind me when he passed away. Yeah, okay. Yep. Anyway. 5 takeaways from the Biden classified documents investigation. According to the New York Times, let's see what silly things they have to say. The evidence was insufficient to bring criminal charges. False. That's a lie. Read the report. I have the report right here. The evidence is prima facie evidence of guilt. Joe Biden is guilty of willful theft of classified documents and willful retention and willful transport and the failure to store them properly. That's 4 felonies right there. 4 felony convictions right there. Mr. Hur was bound by Justice Department policy that holds the Constitution implicitly makes sitting presidents temporarily immune from prosecution. So you're saying he couldn't even be prosecuted. You can say that he'd be prosecuted after he leave office because he committed these crimes before he was president. So he couldn't charge him even if he wanted to. But Mr. Hur found that Mr. Biden should not be charged regardless. That is bogus, and Mr. Hur is a fraudulent special investigator who should be sanctioned for his lies. We conclude that no criminal charges were warranted in this matter, he wrote. We would reach the same conclusion even if the Department of Justice policy did not foreclose criminal charges against the sitting president. How could you possibly make that determination? He wrote that he found evidence that Mr. Biden had willfully retained and disclosed sensitive information after he left office. That is a felony. So how is it not prosecutable? He said the evidence fell short of what would be necessary to establish his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It is established beyond a reasonable doubt. We found the classified documents next to his Corvette buried in the garage. We found the classified documents stored in an unsecure location in a think tank in Washington, D.C., where Chinese spies had access to it. He willfully stole this information. He willfully secured it, didn't secure it, left it available for Chinese spies and others to find. Now, he is absolutely guilty, and this is a cover-up, as we expected. Absolutely expected. Mr. Hur said Biden had significant memory problems. You think? He listed various reasons that a jury might reasonably doubt that Biden had willfully retained classified. So you're saying that he was demented before he even was elected president, was Mr. Hur? You're not a physician. How can you make this determination? In fact, his physician said he was perfectly fine when he entered the White House. So either the physician lied or Mr. Hur is lying to cover up the crimes of Joe Biden. Are people still there? Are people still watching? Are we still live, or am I cut off because I'm talking about Joe Biden's crimes? Cut off because I'm talking about Joe Biden's crime. Okay, we're still live. Just checking. There's not much chat going on, so I was wondering. Yeah. The special counsel portrayed Mr. Biden's recorded conversations with his ghostwriter as often painfully slow, with Mr. Biden struggling to remember events. Well, yeah, because he just makes it all up. He always made up. He's always been a patent liar. Report quoted Mr. Biden saying on the first day of the interview that if it was 2013, when did I stop being vice president? On the second day, Mr. Biden seemed to forget when his term began and ended, asking, in 2009, am I still vice president? At a news conference tonight, Mr. Biden defended his memory, saying he knew what was doing, and expressed particular outrage at Her's claim that he did not remember when his son had died. Yeah, okay. Biden's documents case is different than Trump's. Notice the New York Times rushes out to tell us there's a difference. No, that's right. Trump actually had the authority to do what he did. Biden didn't. He was never president when he stole the documents. Mr. Her's report sharply distinguished the investigation into Biden from the prosecution of former President Donald Trump on charge of mishandling information after leaving office. Several material distinctions between the two cases were clear, Mr. Her lies. And if those allegations against Trump are proved serious aggravated facts, unlike the evidence involving Mr. Biden, this is bullshit. This is total cover-up for Biden, and Biden is angry about it. That's how stupid he is. Yep. In contrast, Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the Department of Justice, consented to the search in multiple locations, including his home, sat for voluntary interview, and in other ways cooperated with the investigation. Well, Mr. Her is a bold-faced shithead liar. Donald Trump cooperated with the National Records and Archives and Records Administration. They visited Mar-a-Lago on 4 trips, twice with the FBI. They secured documents they felt were unsecure. They gave advice to the Trump officials on how to secure them properly in the container they were in. Donald Trump spoke with these people when they arrived and brought his attorneys and said, you can ask any questions. Let me know if you need me. These are liars. Mr. Her is a total fraud here. This is unbelievable. Out of office, Biden referred to finding classified stuff in his house. The investigation focused on part of some government documents about Afghanistan that were marked classified, which investigators found to be in a tattered cardboard box with a jumble of other items. But Mr. Her found evidence showing that Mr. Biden knew they were there. Well, how do you know Trump knew there were classified documents there before the NARA found them? Total nonsense. Wow. Her sharply criticized Biden over classified diary entries. Particular dispute arose over personal diary entries Mr. Biden had in handwritten notes. These included a mix of personal matters, including gut-wrenching passages about his son's death and entries about situation room meetings. So Joe Biden wrote down classified information in his personal diary and stored it improperly. That is a felony. That is a felony. Wow. The New York Times trying to cover up for Joe's lies and his theft and his crimes. Biden angrily pushes back at special counsel's report that questioned his memory handling of documents. He's angry. Special counsel report released today found evidence that Joe Biden willfully retained and shared highly classified information when he was a private citizen, including about military and foreign policy in Afghanistan, but concluded that criminal charges were not warranted. How is that even possible? How is it even possible to come up with that conclusion? Ladies and gentlemen, here's a report from the so-called special counsel. The Attorney General of the United States. Dear Attorney General, enclosed, please find a bogus confidential report explaining the prosecution decisions. Okay, so let's see what he has to say. We conclude that no criminal charges are warranted in this matter. We would reach the same conclusion even if the Department of Justice policy did not foreclose criminal charges against a sitting president. Our investigation uncovered evidence that President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. These materials included marked classified documents about military and foreign policy in Afghanistan and notebooks containing Mr. Biden's handwritten entries about issues of national security and foreign policy implicating sensitive intelligence sources and methods. FBI agents recovered these materials from garage, offices, and basement den in Biden's Wilmington, Delaware home. However, for the reasons summarized below, I'm going to cover for Biden and let him off the hook, says Mr. Her. We conclude that the evidence does not establish his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The fact that he had them is guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Prosecution of Mr. Biden is also unwarranted based on a consideration of aggravating mitigating factors set forth. Yeah, therefore we decline to prosecute Mr. Biden. This is a cover-up. Total fraud. Classified documents, other materials recovered in this case spanned his career in national public life. And this is where has nothing to do with the investigation. It's just pomp and circumstance to cover for Joe Biden's crimes. During his career, Mr. Biden had long seen himself as a historic figure. Well, he's a demented lunatic, so he can see himself as whatever he wants. Maybe he's a doorknob. Elected to the Senate at the age of 29, he considered running for president as early as 1980. and did so in 88, 2008, and 2020. He believed his record during his decades in the Senate made him worthy of the presidency, another proof that he's demented. And he collected papers and artifacts related to significant issues and events in his career. He used these materials to write memoirs published in 2007 and 2017 to document his legacy. What legacy? Locking black men up with mandatory third strike sentences. And to cite as evidence that he was a man of presidential timber. He's not a man of presidential wood chips, let alone timber. In 2009, then Vice President Biden strongly opposed the military plan to send more troops to Afghanistan, yada, yada, yada. During his 8 years as vice president, he regularly wrote notes and handbooks, yeah, so he's got it. Marked classified documents about Afghanistan. It's clearly got stolen classified information. He even wrote stuff down that he couldn't steal documents. He is a total criminal. Joe Biden is a criminal. He always has been. A known plagiarist, a known liar, a serial pay-for-play candidate, and now a guy who's been exposed for stealing classified documents over a decade. Yet the special prosecutor, who apparently isn't supposed special and certainly isn't prosecuting, is there to whitewash Joe Biden, which is what I predicted all along. Joe Biden will get away with this. They'll say that, there's nothing to see here, when in fact there's quite a bit to see here. Well, Tucker Carlson conducted his interview of Vladimir Putin, and the left is losing their mind. They're melting down at this hour, angry Mitchell and Mika Brzezinski and all these other clowns. Putin, in rambling interview, barely lets Tucker Carlson get a word in. Russian President Vladimir Putin spent the first 30 minutes of his 2-hour interview with former Fox News host Tucker Carlson giving a revisionist historical tirade on the founding myths of Russia and Ukraine, the breakup of the Soviet Union, and NATO expansionism. From there, admonishing Carlson when he interrupted, Putin pontificated on everything from the war in Ukraine and relations with the United States, the case of imprisoned American reporter Evan Gershkovich, that sounds real American, and even on artificial intelligence. By the end of the conversation, it was clear that Putin had no intention of ending his brutal war against Ukraine, but Carlson, who was sacked from Fox last year, seemed ready to surrender. Putin offered to keep talking. Carlson, evidently exhausted by the Russian leader's long-winded conspiracy theories and grievances against the West, thanked him and called it quits, far short of the media coup that had been touting. So it's not a media coup? Well, I don't know about that. Can we see Tucker Carlson Network? Tucker Carlson News. Let me see. And see what we come up with there. Tucker Carlson interview. TUC. Putin interview. Where's it at? Okay. That's not showing me Tucker Carlson's there. Okay. Where does it take me? That's on Twitter. Let's see if it gets us there. Hello, folks. We got Philip van Niekerk here, and Dylan Kumbrick, Pierre Orban, Roy, Gareth is in. And prepare for disease. If Trump keeps going, they'll really see. Exactly. Chris, in that case, how can they keep Biden in office? Good God, he is in control of the football. No kidding. I agree with 100%. Why am I interviewing him? So, a 4-minute video of Tucker Carlson explaining why he's doing the interview got 107 million views on Twitter. 107 million views. Please interview this guy well, says Dave Brenner, nemesis of neocons. Dave Brenner, we're not going to interview Edward Snowden, the gas bag, preening turd ball, treasonous bastard that he is. But where's Tucker Carlson's channel at? What's it called? Tucker Carlson Network. There we go. Let's see. There it is, Tucker Carlson Network. Here's the interview. Let's see if we can get it. It is 2 hours and 7 minutes. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. 2 hours and 7 minutes. So here it is. 127 minutes. It doesn't tell us how many views, so we don't know how many views. Wow.
The following is an interview with the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin.
All right. Well, there you go. 2 hours and 7 minutes on the TCN Tucker Carlson Network. Doesn't tell us how many views, but the 4-minute video where he talked about having the interview got 107 million views. Wow. Yeah. And yeah, Tucker Carlson's not really doing anything. Give me a break. Such fraudulent stuff coming from the media. Yep. So let's see what the total vote is now. Donald Trump is up 1,375 votes to 36 at 97.4% of the ballot in. George Steinberg's here. Andrea Fick is here. Roy is in. I watch Tucker on Rumble. Chris Gosh, you're early. Rise and shine, everybody. Pierre, welcome to you. Yeah, well, I was busy at the Veterans of Foreign Wars tonight with several meetings, and after that, I had to visit a neighbor, and then waiting for this news to come out. He's conservative. He and his family are conservative, so sat with them waiting for the news to come out. I watched that Putin gave a 1,000-year-plus history on Russia. Was it boring? Was it exciting? Was it interesting? So Donald Trump is ahead at this hour, and he'll glide to victory in Nevada. And then, of course, we talked about the Supreme Court heard the arguments in the case about Donald Trump being excluded from the Colorado ballot. And what the justice had to say was very skeptical. It looks like it might. Analysts are predicting a 9-0 verdict in favor of Donald Trump, although someone said that Sotomayor may actually vote against it. Roy was not impressed. Well, I'm not impressed by Vladimir Putin either. He's a bit full of himself. The people who come out of Russia are not that impressive. It's amazing they were able to develop nuclear scientists and medical practitioners and space astronauts, cosmonauts, because they really have got very little to add to the mix. The brain capacity of many of these people, not very impressive. But yeah, so then we also have, we have Trump gliding to victory in Nevada. We have the Supreme Court likely to overturn the Colorado Supreme Court. We have Biden stealing classified documents and being let off the hook, and Tucker Carlson doing an interview of Vladimir Putin. So those are the news stories breaking this evening. It's already tomorrow. Well, it's tomorrow now. It's after midnight here. So there you go, folks. I just want to get this news out there so that people can see it and discuss what's going on. Absolutely ridiculous. Wow. So to letting Biden off the hook comes as no surprise to me, folks. Be sure to hit the like button if you don't mind. It comes as no surprise to me. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, folks. It's late. I've got to get up early to do the news. So I got to get up in about 5.5 hours to do the news and prep for that. So I'll do the news tomorrow because tomorrow's going to be a busy day for me. I didn't accomplish everything I hoped to today. I was out running around, but I did get a lot accomplished. Nonetheless, that's it. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in. It's after midnight here on the East Coast. Once again, Donald Trump cruises to victory in the Nevada caucus. He'll get all 26 delegates from Nevada plus 4 from the Virgin Islands tonight, and he just thumps and moves on. And then additionally, in addition to that, the U.S. Supreme Court, the SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, likely, based on the arguments that were made today and the comments from justices, it appears that it's going to be a clean sweep, possibly a 9-0 decision in favor of Donald Trump. That's pretty awesome. And then finally, the other two things we have is that Joe Biden is given a green light for stealing sensitive compartment information, a felony. He is let off the hook by his fake special investigator, Mr. Hur. And then finally, the last item there was that Tucker Carlson interviewed Vladimir Putin. There you got it. All right, folks, thanks a lot. Have a good night, and we'll catch you in a few hours down the road. Cheers, and thanks a lot for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button, and have a good night.